Hello and welcome to Etude number 4, part 3. This is all part of the Villa-Lobos 12 and 12 challenge, and we're going to dive straight into the third part of Etude number 4. Here are the main points. Chunk everything into small beats. Beats build up into a bar, bar builds up into a phrase. That's the first thing. Secondly, get used to trying to get a feel for the different chord shapes here in your left hand. Each chord shape has a feel to it. Try and incorporate that into your slow practice. Third, guide fingers, common fingers, anchor fingers. These are really important in the next couple of micro studies. Get them clear in your head, practice them slowly. Fourth, as with this entire study, I have simplified it. I've stripped it back down to just main beats. Once you've got the main beats, put it up to quavers and then work it up into semi-quavers so that you build into the more complex right-hand patterns. Let's dive into the first micro-study. Welcome to micro-study number 9. Now micro-study number 9 is the turnaround bar, as it were, for the first section, and it starts at bar 21. There is a lot of agile left-hand fingering, but generally if you have done the last micro-study number 8, you will find there is a little bit of an overlap. So we're going to kick it off with this D7 chord again, G sharp to A, and then Villa-Lobos resolves to a G major 7 chord. Micro-study number 8 into those first two beats of micro-study number 9 is all tension, and we release here. That is the chord you're looking for. So fingers are again 1, 3, 4 for the D, F sharp and C. Finger number 2 on the G sharp, open A, and then all you're going to do is you're going to slide your fourth finger underneath your third finger, take your first finger off and put it on a G. And from that moment, your fourth finger is going to act as a anchor finger and going to stay down for the next couple of changes. So we have all Villa-Lobos is doing there is changing the bottom 3 notes to again juxtapose the open E against the chord. He then changes the chord to a G7. Moves that chord down, and your fingers are going to go in. Fourth finger stays on, first finger down 1 fret, second finger down 1 fret. Here we have an F sharp, an E, and then a fretted B, open E, and then he resolves that kind of clash to an F sharp 7 chord. So here the fingers are 1, 2 and 3. He then resolves that further again with an A, F sharp minor, and then we're into an open. Here is a classic Villa-Lobos move. You will find this in Etude number 6 and in some of the preludes. He then takes F natural and clashes it against the open B and G with a G sharp or A flat. He then moves it up 1 fret, moves it up 1 fret again, and then we're back to the opening chord. So again, there is a lot of tension and release here, so you need to keep your ears open. So again, in this micro study, be very aware of where the guide fingers are and where the common fingers are. First, we've got that fourth finger, and then we have guide finger 2. Essentially that is what he's doing, it's just a back to the opening. So here it is, again, nice and slowly. Welcome to micro-study number 10. This micro-study starts at bar 31. Why? Because bars 25 to 30 are the open opening 6 bars repeated. It's the same material, same fingering, we don't need to go over it. We're kicking off here with an A minor chord, and again it is just a very simple idea where Villa-Lobos takes one idea and then shifts it down a certain interval. So in this case, this interval gets transposed down to here. Main things to keep in mind here: melody, and then we're into the next micro study. There is nothing difficult about this. You've already had a look at this, a similar idea in one of the earlier micro studies. So keep in mind, nice relaxed half bar and laser ahead. Half bar at 5, 4th finger on, melody note with 3rd, melody note with the 1st finger. So again, nice and clean. Now you need to shift down to the 3rd fret with the half bar, put your 3rd finger on, back to 1st finger, stay there, move your right hand up. So the melody is now shifted onto the 2nd string. We've got a D and then it goes to an E with the 3rd finger, and then again another quick shift. Now you're in this shape just goes there, 3rd finger, high G. You need to do a little bit of a ramp here to try and get all of those notes nice and clean, and then we're going to stop there for 2 seconds and just roll back. So this is that little section with all the half bars. That's a lot of half bar work, but it's not impossible. Laser ahead, nice and relaxed. Once we're here and we've done this, you're going to go into essentially, which could be considered a G chord with a sus4 and with a 9, which is what I think Villa-Lobos is referring to, but it also could be construed as an A minor chord with a 7 in the bass. From the half bar, you need to make sure that your finger is up, ready and engaged to come down onto a G at the 3rd fret, and then you take your half bar off into 2nd finger on A, 1st finger on C, and then all it is your 4th finger coming down onto a D, and then we're back to a lovely crunchy chord again. Here is that all in one big chunk. Into the next section. So main point here is make sure that the melody line comes out. And that is microstudy 10 into the first half of microstudy number 11. Welcome to microstudy number 11. Microstudy number 11 is split into 2 sections. The first section is all about a chord shape that is going to be juxtaposed against open strings, a classic Villa-Lobos move. And then the second half is again the same idea but with more complex shapes. Let's dive into the first idea. The first idea starts here. 1st fret with a -7 flat 5 sound again. We've got the flat 5 on the D string, 3rd, 7, root. Now my fingering is 2 and 3. Why? Because I already know what the next chord shape is, and I know that it's the same shape, and I'm going to need my 1st finger involved. So 3rd finger is going to be a guide, and it's going to guide me up to the 3rd fret. 2nd finger is going to lift off, and my 1st finger and 2nd finger are going to engage into the shape. Up a tone, up another semitone. Now key here, again with all of these shifting shapes, is make sure you lift your fingers up, because otherwise you're going to get this sound, which you don't want. It is possible to play these shapes and do the shifts squeak free. And that is it for the first bar of that. He then takes it from the C and goes all the way up to an E, major third, drops it down, a semitone, and back up. There's nothing really difficult about any of these changes, other than the fact that you're going to have to take your second and first fingers off to become squeak free. Here is the full chunk. And the last chord we ended on is the next part of microstudy number 11. Main things to keep in mind: third finger guide, lift your first and second fingers off, and laser ahead, especially for this major third jump. Let's dive into the second section. So the second section of microstudy number 11 begins here with this lovely G chord against an open A. I have chosen to finger it 1, 3, 4, but you could, if you so desired, going off the last chord, use 1, 2, 4. It's the same shape as this chord, except it's a little bit stretched out here. The call is yours. So anyway, from this point, the main thing that changes here is you're going to have to put a half bar down to get the next chord, and then you have Villa-Lobos messing around with the right hand. In essence, we've gone from the right hand matching the left hand to the right hand now. He then continues to do that where your annular finger stays on the top line, and then these three fingers shift between 5, 4 and 3 and 4, 3 and 2. You need to look at the music very carefully to get a feel for this. But anyway, here we go, nice and slowly. Here's the full chunk. Half bar down, right hand shifts, harmony changes, right hand shifts, harmony changes, right hand stays the same, right hand shifts, right hand shifts, right hand shifts, right hand shifts, and then we get a position change. There is a lot here, but it's not truly difficult. You just have to be very clear about which bit of the left hand is moving before which bit of the right hand is moving. So here we go. Again, we get a lovely release into the next microstudy. Be very aware of where Villa-Lobos is releasing their tension. He builds it up and releases it. Generally, to a certain degree, it's on a G chord of some description, but not always. One of the most important things about this second set of ideas, and why I've called it a turnaround bar, is because Villa-Lobos is going to use it to jump into the next big idea, which again is a -7 chord shape shifted around the fretboard, but this time in the bass and tenor voices and fully developed. And it's the climax of this etude. So my advice to you here is make the most of the second half of microstudy number 11, because you're going to use it as a jumping off point into the next big idea. Thank you very much for staying till the end. This has been part of the Villa-Lobos 12 and 12 challenge, 12 etudes in 12 months. Please join the conversation. It is open to everybody. We're trying to demystify Villa-Lobos' fantastic music.